What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Zarya, and before we get into the video, I just want to remind everybody, if you're under level 15 and you want $10 worth of free stuff, go to your settings, go to use promo code, and type in XMGGift. You do that, you'll get $10 worth of free stuff. It helps support the channel. So if you're under level 15, make sure you're using that promo code XMGGift. Enjoy the video. What is happening, YouTube family? We are back, and today we finish up the worst to first with 10 through 1. And I hope everybody enjoyed this series as much as I enjoyed making it. So we are going to jump right in, starting with number 10. My number 10 character in the game is Garrett. He's my personal favorite character in the whole game. But in the grand scheme of things, he is number 10. And he's a newer addition to the game, but the reason Garrett is number 10 for me is that he does so many things, and you can build him around so many comps. He could be the best plug and play character in the game when you think about it. And it all has to do with his passive ability, which is his arrows, his royal arsenal. He has a sharp bolt, which puts on bleeding. He has a flame bolt that puts on burning. He has a poison bolt that inflicts poison. Then he has the Daze Bolt. And then he has the Frozen Bolt, which puts on slow. And then he has the bolt that the anti-magic bolt that removes all buffs from the target. So he's a mass dispeller. You can put him on a bleed team, you can put him on a burn team. Any kind of synergy that somebody has, if they do more damage off something, he can provide, and it can be an AoE. So if he has his burn arrow up and you're with that lake burn comp, you spread that to everybody. That's a significant damage increase. Not only does he have that, he has his flare bolt. Insane. You know, what it does is it removes all invisibility from the enemies. And then he puts a blind on all enemies for 1 turn. Man, does that screw you up. Flare Bolt is just fantastic. Then he gives accuracy increase to your whole party, which is kind of blah. But he has great synergy with Eric's Shieldbreaker, increasing crit damage and crit rate for 2 turns. And I forgot to mention that on his passive. If Eric's Shieldbreaker is in the party, increases health of Garrett and Eric by 10% and their speed by 10. Really does a lot for Eric's Shieldbreaker. Really good synergy. Then he has his Dangerous Salvo, where it's an AoE. So whatever effect he has on that bolt, if it's the anti-mage bolt and you shoot this, as long as it hits, you're removing all buffs. You want to apply slow to the whole party, you put slow on the whole party. So definitely beneficial. And then you just have your single solitary target. Now you can build this guy so many ways. You can make him fast, you can build him for damage, you can build him for potency. Whatever you want his role to be, essentially the only thing he doesn't do is heal. Right? I mean, he's really got it all. Looking at his stats, he does have very low speed at 140, but you pair him with Eric's Shieldbreaker, he's 150. I have some pretty solid runes on him right now, and I got him at 205 speed, so it is doable. Health and shield combination is at 46k, which is on the low end. His survivability is kind of there. I mean, if they can get to him, they can wipe him down pretty quick. So that's something you just want to address in his rune set. His crit damage, 27.8, so almost 28%. It is on the low end, so you're going to want to look at that. And his potency is a fantastic 46. So you don't really have to sink a lot of potency into this guy. You can put a potency here in the northwestern rune if you really want to give him that extra bump. But I have his potency at 45% right now. You know, so there are some things you can do. You know, I didn't really add potency at all. And I seem to land those debuffs and dispel quite a lot. So I'm okay with that. I built him for different things. But he's just so good with his plug and play viability. Garrett deserves to be in the top 10, and he is number 10. Number 9, Tromgar. Tromgar. Where do we start with Tromgar? He's an early get in the game, and he holds to the very end. He is so good, right? I mean, his leadership ability. Increases potency and tenacity of all orcs by 30%. Each debuff an allied orc inflicts on the enemy, all orcs recover 5% health. So he has a built-in healing mechanic, and his potency is god-awful, so it really helps. Right? But why everybody knows him is he can taunt on his first turn, and what that taunt does is it gives him taunt and counterattack. And then on his basic, he has a 35% chance to stun. I'd love to see this guy get a tier 7 ability on his basic that increases that stun to a 50% chance. That would be phenomenal, and it'd even push him higher on this list. His taunting mechanism, he removes all debuffs from himself, so he cleanses everything on him when he uses this second wind, and then he recovers 10% of his health. He gets regeneration for 2 turns. He is just a fantastic character. Somebody that you can get early, you can sink materials in, and you're not going to feel like you wasted them. Anything you put on Tromgar is going to continue. Now, Tromgar, his potency is at 25%, so like I said, it's god-awful. So if he is the lead, giving himself that extra 30% is really, really benefit. Now, his speed's at 110. So you want to get him a little speed, but you don't want to give him like an abundance of speed. Maybe get him to like that 120, 125 mark. I have him at 144. That even might be a little bit too much speed when you think about it. But his health and shield combination, 65k at gear 11. Physical damage is at 2500. Not bad, but you're really just looking to him to put up that taunt, soak up that damage, and then stun people when he counterattacks. So the daze is the part that if you're going against a daze team that could really hurt you, like goblins, he does struggle with. He is not the most perfect tank like a lot of characters aren't in this game, but he is just so good. Well deserved to be in the top 10 at number 9, Tromgar. Number 8 is Shadar, and Shadar could be 10. Really, you could put these however you want. But I've really, really grown to like Shadar. I run him in my arena team, and he does very well for me. They reworked his leadership ability, which to me was a huge bonus. Increases potency of all allied mages by 20%. Freezards, Nightiel, Radash, Cruel, all those people, it lets you do different things. And it doesn't just encompass demons. Now, demons get more, but you can use it for that mage comp lead if you want to. All allied demons get 80% chance to inflict slow. Whenever they inflict a debuff, if they already have slow, demons recover 25% of their turn meter. Awesome. Awesome. His leadership ability really changed, and it's really beneficial. His passive ability increases magic damage by 10% for each living demon in the party. So when we go over his magic damage, his magic damage sits at 3,000. So you're getting 10%. You're getting essentially 300. This is before runes per demon. So you can get that up to 4,500 in a full demon comp. Fantastic. And then he gives it to Radash as well, which is deserved. The Earth Armor is just insane. Giving himself and all allies 50% turn meter with debuff immunity. The armor increase is nice, whatever, but debuff immunity is probably the strongest buff you can receive in this game, and it can screw up team comps. And if you don't take him out before he gets that up, he just sits there and he feeds turn meter. He has a stun ability, and then he calls Radash into assist. He has 460 magic damage, and then his basic puts on an armor decrease. So wish there was something like you can put on slow with his passive, but a slow would have been really good. Or he decreases turn meter for that turn meter manipulation. But if you don't have a lot of good speed secondaries or speed runes in general, you can put in Shadar. Shadar will feed that turn meter and speed up your team. He's just really, really good. He's very well built. He starts at 145 speed. Getting him to 200 is not hard. 145, middle of the pack. Health and shield combination at 4,200 or 42k. That you want to get up to at least 50k because he is kind of squishy because his physical armor is at 30%. So physical damage dealers can bring him down. But if he gets up that debuff immunity, really helps out, keep him in the fight. So that is a huge positive there. So Shadar, just a really well-built kit. Turn meter manipulator to the max. That's why I have him at 8, because he can fit in any team, and he's so good. Number 7, Kiri. She is just a phenomenal character. She takes some getting used to. Like, when I first used Kiri, I'm like, I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work the way it works in my head. Then you start to get her rotation down. You start to play with her more, and she's just exceptional. So, she recovers 15% of her turn meter off her passive ability and gain a counterattack restore shield by 10%. So you pair her with a counterattack champion. Used to be Kyra, but she's kind of fallen down the list a little bit. But she recovers that turn meter when she takes damage. And her taunt is going to fluctuate. So normally tanks you don't want to get super fast. She has a base speed of 111 for a defender that's about middle of the pack. But you want to try to make her pretty speedy. So you can constantly drop and add that taunt. And it just messes up everything. She gains taunt and armor increase, recovers 10% turn meter for each living demon in the party, and then restores shield by 20% of her max health. Survivability, fantastic. AoE, she recovers 50% of health for the damage dealt, has a 50% chance to decrease the enemy's turn meter by 15%, and if the enemy is inflicted by slow, she decreases the turn meter by 30%. So you put her in a demon comp under a Shadar lead, where anytime they're putting that debuff, she does this. She can decrease the whole team's turn meter by 30% if they have that slow. Awesome. She can be the tank for that mage comp under their Shadar lead, because you got Freezard already giving out slows. Just really, really solid. And then her basic. 50% chance to inflict healing block on a basic that is just amazing. If they're afflicted by healing block, she applies the bleeding for 2 turns, so she could... Her and Titania on a bleed team, they always have the taunt up. It's super tricky. She just has a lot of good debuffs and a lot of good mechanics. Her health and shield combination is at 66,000 to start. Insanity. You can get her over 70, 75k pretty easily without doing a whole hell of a lot, right? Her potency... Oh, I should mention, her physical and magical damage are armor, it's not damage, I'm sorry, are fantastic. She has 40% physical armor and 37% magic armor. So you put another armor set on her, and I have both of them almost 50%. Huge. She's just really, really good. And she is going to need some potency here. So when we look at Kiri's potency, let me go to my list. It's at 42. 42. I knew it was higher, but I couldn't remember the exact number. 42. So you put a potency set on her, and you never really have to worry about it again. You build it for survivability. You focus on the health. You give her some more armor. She lasts forever. Once you get that balance, kind of like speed tuning in Raid Shadow Legends with your other characters, she makes your team a bitch to get down. She's great. I love her. Well deserved of a top 10 spot. Number 6 is Renara. Renara, legendary character. Very kind of easy to get, to be honest with you. Excuse me. She takes in the elves. You have Wonder Lua, you just cakewalk that event. But she is a revive character. On this hand, tell me how many other revive characters we have. 0. That puts her in the top 10 alone. But not only does she do that, she brings other things to the table. She starts off with a very, very good 152 speed for a healer. Health and shield combination, 40 or 54k, almost 55k. Already survivable, right? Her magic armor and physical armor on the low end, about 31 and 32% respectively. So she's not really strong or weak versus the other in that aspect. But her passive ability, at the end of her turn, she restores 15% maximum health and 15% maximum shield to an ally that has 2 or more stacks of regeneration. So she has a lot of plug-and-play viability. Putting her with a Tromgar, who puts on a regeneration. Fantastic. Singeal. There's a lot of regeneration characters out there that she can go with. Then all allies with full health after that effect gain cheat death for 2 turns. So if they have 2 regenerations and they're at full health, they get cheat death. Now, it doesn't work as well as it reads on paper. It's kind of harder to achieve unless you pair her with another regeneration champion. But the fact that she could put cheat death on all allies at full health for 2 turns, it's godly. Then she has her resurrect. She gives them 50% of their health and applies regeneration for 2 turns. Awesome. Heals all allies by 400% of the magic damage, and then applies regeneration for 3 turns. So we're automatically putting 1 on, and then 400% of her magic damage. Now her magic damage is 27, almost 2,800, so it's not terrible, but you kind of want to look for some damage in the secondaries of runes, right? We want to make her fast because her speed at 152 is great multipliers for a speed set. And then on her basic, applies regeneration to allies with the lowest health for 2 turns. So it could be your tank. Now I'd like to see a T7 put onto this to give them 2 so they get that cheat death. It might make them OP, it might be broken, so we'd have to playtest that, but it would be awesome. Renara is just a great healer, and I use her in tournaments all the time. She makes that pride team of squishy characters way better, and if you don't have her for the buff event, good luck. You're going to be there for days. So, great champion, well-deserved where she's at. Number 6, Renara. Number 5, Titania. And you know what? I was wrong on Titania. I'm not afraid to admit when I screw up, and I screwed up with Titania. Titania is absolutely amazing. Kiri and her are 1A and 1B, and I said Kiri is probably the best tank in the game, and I still think she could be, but Titania is a very, very close second, if not the best, because she brings so much stuff to the table. She's a really hard character to get. She comes in with a base speed of 120, so it's a higher end, and she's another one you want to kind of stack speed on, right? Her health and shield combination is a very healthy 65k for defenders. That is awesome, right? Her passive ability, and this is what makes her so good, increases dodge by 5% for each living healer or mage in the party, not elves. Plug and play. But then she gets more for healers and mages of the elf faction. That is awesome. If she does no taunt, she recovers 5% of her turn meter when allied healers and mages take damage. So your squishier characters, the stuff people try to take out first, if she doesn't have that taunt up, feeding her that turn meter to get the taunt. And again, it's just healers and mages, and then she gets double that for elf, healer, and mages. That passive ability could be one of my favorites in the game. It's just so well built for plug and play viability and for factions. Just super well done. Now, her taunt removes 1 debuff from herself, allied healers, and mages. I wish she could dispel everything on herself and then remove 1 from healers and mages, but we're drawing straws, I guess, at this point. She gains taunt, cheat death, and counterattack for 2 turns. Cheat death and counterattack for 2 turns puts her in the realm of Tromgar. Her wild hunt. For each living elf in the party, Titania has an extra 20% chance to call in a random elf to assist. If the target is bleeding, apply ability block for 2 turns. Ability block is one of the best, if not the best, debuff in the game. And you can get that, but they gotta have the caveat of bleeding. Calling in the elf to assist, if you don't put her with elves, that kind of goes to the wayside. Now, here's where it gets cool. She inflicts bleeding for 2 turns, gaining a dodge increase for 1 using her basic. So you get that taunt up, she gets the counterattack, they attack her, she's putting up the bleeding. Now what you're going to want to see here, though, sadly, is you're going to have to put some potency on this character because her potency is at 30, so very middle of the road. So you need to get a little more potency on her to ensure those bleedings stick. Right? So, I have her potency right now at 68% with 1 potency set. You put some survivability on her. She's giving the dodge increase to herself. She is just so good, and I was wrong on her. She is a top 5 character, Titania. Number 4, Zarya. Zarya is here for one reason. She brings a lot of good stuff to the table, but if it wasn't for this, she'd probably just be top 25 maybe. And that definitely has to do, not that, her leadership. Enraged Blades. She gives potency and maximum health to all allied orcs by 20%. Orcs are notoriously low on potency, so they need that. Then, when the battle starts, all enemies receive a tenacity decrease, armor decrease, damage decrease, and buff immunity for 1 turn. AI sucks ass, essentially, versus a Zarya lead. Every tank and their mother are going to throw up their taunting mechanism, essentially removing it for the next 3 to 4 turns, depending on their cooldowns. Or you're going to get a character like Nightingale. Her first move always, offense for the whole team. Gone. Eric Shieldbreaker, going to try to throw up that debuff immunity. Nullifies it. Huge. I can't tell you how good her leadership is, and it is by far and away the best leadership in the game for me, because you can put anybody you want behind her, and that's always going to happen as long as you have it to ability 6. Not only that, her passive ability, Lifesteal, and that's good because she does have a low health and shield combination of 47. In the grand scheme of things, that's kind of lower. Still about upper half of the game, but still low. But it increases her survivability. If she dodges an attack, she recovers 20% of her turn meter. Okay, and then if Rantha is on the battlefield, she receives the same buffs. The Rantha synergy is just, frankly, crap. So let's just get rid of that. Now, her Crimson Claws, she deals 3 attacks at 230 apiece. Each hit on a shield applies armor decrease. Or if they have a shield, armor decrease. If all 3 attacks hit, she puts on bleeding for 2 turns and an ability block for 1. Massive. Massive. Then she keeps the train rolling. Physical damage to all enemies, 300%, so we got an AoE. 60% chance of inflicting a heal block for 2 turns. If they are bleeding, applies a buff immunity for 2 turns. Wow. One pair I found to be extremely useful is Zarya and Titania. Titania puts up that counterattack and is constantly putting out those bleeds. Then you come through with a Vortex of Pain and you put on buff immunity for 2 turns. Whew. Whew. And it can be used on her first move. Humongous. Humongous. Deals 320 on a basic and has a 70% chance to gain a damage increase for 2 turns. Okay, I wish it was 100, but she is just a debuff queen. Her physical damage is almost 2,900, so not super low, not super high, but her magic armor is only at 28%. So the way to get Zarya out of the game is take in a magic damage dealer and smoke her down. So that is that. Now, she is super reliant on potency, and her potency is at 17. I have her potency over 50%, with a potency set on, and a potency in the Northwestern rune, I am sure. Yeah, and I can get that even higher because I have a 2-dot rune on her. But in the grand scheme of things, the AI doesn't play her properly, but she destroys the AI. She is a godsend for battlegrounds, and when they make that split between defense and offense, you're going to save Zarya for offense. And I don't need to say much more about her. She is that good. And her leadership really brings her up. If she didn't have that leadership, again, she's a top 25 character because of what else she can bring. But you have to understand her move kit also. Because if you don't, you're not going to maximize her potential. So, Zarya, number 4. Number 3 is Buff. And Buff, you know, He's had so many nerfs and changes to his kit, and I'm okay with them. And I said it from the beginning, I was really okay. Before he was even released, I read his move kit, and I'm like, this guy's gonna break the game, right? But he's good. He is really good. He does have some glaring issues, and we'll get to that after we go over his move kit. His lead, one of the best in the game, increases speed of all allied demons by 15, and their tenacity by 30. A 33% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 16.66% when attacking. But do you notice? He can decrease the turn meter regardless of if it's a demon or not. But he is the best demon lead in the game. Passive ability, dodge by 6.66% for each living demon in the party. Dodge is broken anyways. Huge. Tactical advantage. Swaps his turn meter with the target ally. Then he removes 2 debuffs from both himself and the ally. Cleansing. Turn meter manipulation. And then gains a potency increase for 2 turns and recovers 25% of their health. Huge. Huge. Just really good. Dice throw. Dice throw. Rolling the dice. RNG dependent. And it really is why he's not in the top 2 for me. Because you could get a tenacity increase and invisibility on your tank, and it drops your taunt, and it can mess it up. But the debuffs: damage decrease, armor decrease, slow, potency, tenacity decreases, daze, heal block, buff immunity for 2 turns, or blindness and ability block for 1. If it rolls right, it's over. Back out, restart. And then on his basic, 30% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 30. Turn meter manipulation, debuff champion. Love this guy. He is worth the pain, and buff will always be on that soft spot on my heart for that live stream. And I said it before, but that live stream was just so much fun. And I loved every single second of it. So buff is always there, but he's number 3 for me. More Doom, number 2. And my top 3 hasn't changed, and they shouldn't change right now. More Doom. Exceptional even after his imps got the imp tag and they're not considered demons anymore. But we look at More Doom, right? And I gotta find More Doom on my list here to make sure I'm not giving you guys the wrong things. Starts off at a very healthy 155 speed. I got him to 233. Happy with that. Health and shield combination, 51k to start. Survivable. So he's fast and survivable to start. Magic armor, 42%. A lot of people take in AoEs to try to take him down. And if you don't take in like a Thalane or a Garrett, you know, Zarya, things like that, he's harder to kill. Now his potency is at 25. Lower end for potency, and we're going to need potency for him. If we take a look at his move kit, gains 10% tenacity, 10% potency for each living imp in the party, then gains 5% and 5% for each living demon in the party. So this second part here, if you don't have a demon in the it's not the end of the world. And honestly, I think they kept this in there to satisfy people when they nerfed him a little bit. But imps he's always going to have. He drops 2 every time. So he drops 2, he's giving himself 20% more potency. So after his first move, he's up to 45% potency. Right? I have him at 60%. So after he drops the imps, I'm at 100% potency. Perfect. Okay? We already looked at that one. Rock's Curse is just boss. 480 magic damage. Then he puts on an armor decrease, tenacity decrease, slow, damage decrease, potency decrease. My voice just cracked. I must be going through puberty. Well done, Zarya. Ability block. All for 3 freaking turns. 3 turns. Ability block for 3 turns just neuters you. You put that on a Thalane. Put it on the other team's defender, their healer. It takes someone out of the fight, essentially, for 3 turns. 3 turns. Insane. Summons 2 imps, which you know about. 50% of his health, 50% of his shield, 80% of his damage. They're not there to do damage. They're there to increase his stats. But then, his basic removes 2 buffs. Dispels on his basic. He is just so good. And if you had him as your number 1 character in the game, I wouldn't fault you. I've said it before. More doom. Dispelling. Debuffs. Survivability. Because the imps can do AoEs and they can heal. So he is just so well designed. So good. He's just so good. And yeah. So good. And my number 1 character. Thelane. And it's easy. Because if I can put the reason she's number 1, if I can use her in tournaments, regardless of who else I can use, I'm using her. That's why she's my number 1. I will take this character over any other character in the whole entire game. She starts at 160 speed. Craziness. Health and shield combination, 51k. Survivable. Fast. Physical magical armors, average, 33%. Physical damage, almost 3,400 to start. You can build her as a crit damage, crit chance. You can build her with damage and potency. You can build her with speed and potency. How you want to use her is up to you. And she's not going to be bad in either of those roles. I find her most beneficial with a crap ton of speed and potency. Because you're going to need potency on her, because her potency is at like 17, I think. It's something ridiculous like that. 12. And I have her with a speed potency set on, and I have her do 258 speed and 50% potency. Why do you need potency, you might ask? Here's why. Leadership ability. Increases the crit chance of elves by 30%. Now her crit chance is already extremely good at 41%. Put her as the lead, 71%. And you guys notice? I struggled with that math for a second. But right now I have her at 46.66% potency at gear 11. Put her in the lead, I have 94% potency. Right? And it doesn't stop there. Recovers 15% of your turn meter upon landing a critical hit. So pretty much I'm critting every hit. And then I have a 50% chance to restore 1 turn to a random ability. So good. That's just her lead. Passive. Debuffing an enemy increases turn meter by 20%. And by an additional 4% for each debuff. So, keep this in mind when we go to her Blade Fury. AoE. I inflict a ability block for 1 turn. I throw that. I put on 1 debuff, getting 20%. Then I put debuffs on everybody else. I'm getting another 20% turn meter. And she's already fast. Ability block cripples the opponent's team. Second ability inflicts healing block and applies buff immunity for 2 turns. You're getting all 3 of the best debuffs in the game. Ability block, heal block, and buff immunity. On a fast-ass character with crazy turn meter manipulation. Then on her basic, she implies daze. Tromgar. If I see a Tromgar, even if he doesn't have his taunt up, I put daze on him. I'll attack him first, put daze. So when he puts his taunt up, I don't have to worry about it. Awesome. She's just so good. She does crazy amounts of damage. She is my go-to character for every game mode. And I said Garrett's my favorite character, and he is. But Thelane is number 2, and it's not even close. She's just amazing. Her rework when they redid her character model was awesome. She is just exceptional. So my YouTube family, we have wrapped up the 2020 worst to first, and I hope everybody liked this format, and I hope they got something out of this. And you know, I've made some changes, and when I do more tiers going forward, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put like where they were previously and where they are now, or if they're a new addition, so you can kind of see how it changes, and it will help when they do nerfs or buffs. And you can kind of see as the game progresses of where they were. So with that being said, if you're just finding me for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Grow the XMG family. It is a great family to be in. And for all my XMG family members out there, I love you. And what I'd like to see in the comments today, even though the giveaway has ended, tell me somebody you don't agree with me about. In this whole list, what don't you agree with? I like that. I like other people's opinions and takes on this because it helps me realize some things maybe I'm overlooking or not valuing enough. So that really helps me. So that being said, I love you all. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for sitting through all this with me. You're all the best. I'm out.